Recording.
This is an oral history interview conducted for the Witness to War Serving a Nation project at Nossner Regional High School in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and the community in which you now reside.
Nancy Swanson. I live in Providence at Marshop, and I've been here for about 13 years. I moved down here in 2004.
How did you end up on Cape Cod?
I was taking care of a friend's mother, and that lives down here, and she died, and this friend said to me, "How would you like to live in Provincetown?" And my head said no, and my mouth said yes.
Yeah. What were some of your favorite memories from growing up?
Oh boy, going fishing with my stepbrother, and running around the cemetery and ice skating and playing cowboys and Indians and building things and going different places. My mother and father liked to travel a little bit, so we went all over the place and played games in the car when I got bored, and go horseback riding. I spent some of my summers up in Maine with friends, and they had horses and cows and everything, and fishing. So it was quite an experience. I had a nice childhood.
Yeah, sounds like fun. What were your favorite school subjects?
Let me see. That's I guess English and history. I like history.
Yeah, me too. What, if any, extracurricular things did you do?
I played softball, basketball, hockey, and back then the girls' hockey, you had to wear certain uniforms with nice little skirts and everything.
How did you spend your free time?
Then, riding bicycles, watching television, dancing.
Yeah. What kinds of entertainment did you like?
Entertainment, huh? I guess dancing.
Dancing was cool.
Dancing, yeah.
Did you have like a specific type of dancing or just?
No, just rock and roll.
Yeah. Who were your role models when you were growing up?
Oh boy. I love James Dean. And, oh goodness, James Dean, I guess he was one of my best role models. And and when he died, I was absolutely devastated. He died in a car wreck.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did you have in mind for your future when you were a kid?
I didn't have anything in mind. I didn't know what I wanted to do, where I wanted to be. I quit school, and then I got my GED and went into the Army.
Oh. What did you have a job you did before the Army?
Yeah, I worked for a while at S&H Green Stamps in Natick, and what else? Oh, I went to school in Boston for IBM.
Oh yeah.
And they were first starting out. It wasn't even a computer yet. It was different machines, a sorting machine and all that stuff.
When did you decide you wanted to join the military?
A couple of my friends were going to go in, so I decided that I would join them. I had a couple of reasons I wanted to go in, and so I did.
How old were you when you joined?
18.
Was there like a specific reason? So you said you had reasons, but
I just wanted to get away from home. And I wanted to find out who I was. And I did. I had to change my name, and I lost my driver's license because I was never legally adopted. I was just given to these people.
Why did you choose the Army?
What?
Why did you choose the Army?
I don't know. It was what my friends were going in, so I went in with them. And after basic training, I never saw any of them again.
Is there another part of the military that you'd wish you joined?
No, I don't think so.
How did your family react to you joining?
Oh, they were happy. They were happy.
How did you feel about leaving home?
I loved it.
How did the reality of the military compare to your expectations?
I really didn't know what to expect, but when I got into basic training, and then we had to be able to bounce a quarter off the bed and spit shine our shoes, and it's very, very good discipline. Very good discipline. It really teaches you a lot. Not only in the barracks and everything, but you learn a lot in the woods and all that stuff. You be quiet.
What was training like? What did you have to do?
We learned how to shoot. We learned how to read maps, and they take us out in the woods and have us read the maps to get back to where we were supposed to meet. And it was an experience. I really loved it, but I liked the outdoors anyway, so that was good for me. And we had a lot of parades and discipline in marching, and it was really good. And then after basic training, I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for signal school.
Oh wow.
And that was a nice place, and I learned a lot there too. I became a cryptologist, the coding and decoding of classified material.
Could you tell us about that? About for cryptologists, what you had to do?
Well, there was teletypes, and teletypes, we received messages and we get messages, and sometimes they came coded. So when they came coded, we used this machine and put it down. Sorry, down. And we have to decode them and then print them out again on the teletype and see what they said, and then send them off to the people, depending on who it was for and what the classification was.
Describe a typical day in the military.
A regular day after basic training. Well, then I went from school to San Francisco. I was at the Presidio. I was stationed there. And you get up in the morning, you go to work, and when taps were played, you'd stop no matter where you were, and stand there towards the flag and salute. And it was just like a regular job. It was just like a regular job, and we still had we lived in barracks, so we all had to do our chores. And we did chores just like you would do it at home.
What were some of the chores that you had to do?
Wash the floors, clean the bathrooms, and it was just they'd have a list, and then you'd see your name on what your list was, what your job was that week or that month. I can't remember.
Describe your living arrangements.
We lived in a barracks, and in basic training it's one big room. And in school, when you went to school, it's one big room. You just have the beds lined up in rows. And when you get to, when I got to San Francisco, there was some of the rooms you had 2 people, and some of the rooms you only had 1 person. And you had your own little place. It didn't have any doors on it, but you had curtains on it. And depending upon your rank is where you stayed.
Describe your relationship with your colleagues.
We had a good relationship, and we played games together. We played softball, we played basketball, and we had some good games. And we go out touring around San Francisco, and that was nice.
What was your favorite thing to do when you...
In San Francisco?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I did a lot of things in San Francisco. We went a lot of different places. There's so much to see there. And we had one place we used to like to go. It was over in Sausalito, and it was called Juanita's. And it was a bar and a restaurant, and it was on a boat. And we used to go there quite a bit. It was nice. And we used to go a lot, take rides up into the woods and go up to Mount Tamalpais. And then we go to, Pier 14, where all the fish are, and where you can buy all the lobsters and stuff like that. And we go to the movies, just like you do anywhere around here. Or when you go on your vacation, you want to see all your sights.
What was the food like in the Army?
What was what?
What was the food like?
Great. It was really good. Yep. And when I went to school, there was this mess sergeant there, and she was from Maine. And she'd look at me, and I said, "Can I get some more?" And she'd say, "Are you gonna eat it?" And I says, "Yes, ma'am." And she got to really like me, because I'd eat 2 or 3 helpings of it. And so she was funny. She was a hot ticket herself. And then when I got to San Francisco, I can't remember, we go to NCO Club, and we usually eat there.
Is there a specific food now that reminds you of your time in the Army?
Yeah, I think it's yakitori's, and that's Japanese. And what it's like it's chicken and onions and tomatoes, and then they pour different spices on it, and then you grill it on a grill right outside, and it was absolutely delicious.
Where were you stationed during the war?
Vietnam, you mean? I was stationed in Japan, and that was quite an adventure.
What places stood out to you that you were assigned to?
What?
What places stood out to you that you went to?
What did I do?
Like where you went in the Army, is there any place that stood out to you?
Oh, okay. I was stationed at Camp Zama, Japan, and I worked in the crypto center there, and we used to go out what we called out on the market every night, and we'd go see some part of town, and we went to see the Kamakura Buddha, and there was a place I went to, I can't remember the name of it, but you could walk for over a mile, and in the ocean, and only be like up to your knees, and it was absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And Mount Fuji, we went to Mount Fuji, and it was good.
What was the weather like where you were stationed?
Nice. It was very similar to here, but it never got cold too much over in Japan. I never saw the snow over in Japan. And but I did feel an earthquake. And when the earthquake happened, I was sitting in a lounge chair, and all of a sudden it started shaking. And all the Japanese women, we had maids, and they used to clean our rooms and stuff for us, and they went running, screaming, and the rest of us just sat there and laughed, and we thought it was funny because we had never been through an earthquake, you know, and because they could be so devastating.
So that was just a minor one?
Just a little tremble.
When I say the word Vietnam, what first comes to mind?
It wasn't good, Vietnam. Nobody wanted us there. The guys really had a hard time over there. Hard time. And it was a war that never should have been.
What are your thoughts on women in the military then and now? What are your thoughts on women in the military then and now?
I think it's great. I think it's great because there's so much to learn, there's so much to see, there's so many places you can go. Most of my friends went to Germany, and I was the only one that put Japan down where I wanted to go, and I got it. And I was so happy about that. The people are nice, the climate's nice, the area's nice. The only thing is, we go to Tokyo and we'd see remnants of the bomb, the atom bomb, and some of it was really sad because you could still see some of the destruction, and you could go to the places and see pictures of the different people, and they also dropped the bomb at Nagasaki too, and we were pretty close to that, and they didn't like us. But most of the other people did, and we were on a train one night coming home from Tokyo, and everybody was nice to us, and we couldn't figure it out. They'd give us our seats, and they'd say so sorry, and we had no idea what they were talking about. And when we got home and turned on the TV, we found out that Kennedy had gotten assassinated.
Oh. What is your most vivid memory from the war?
Friends getting wounded, friends getting killed. Nothing nice. When people came back from Vietnam and they came back home to the United States, people treated them like they never should have been there. They were disgusted, and they treated you really, really awful. And so when I got out of the service and came home, it was almost like I didn't want to tell anybody. And it was disgusting how some of the people treated you. And the guys got treated worse than the women did. And that's really a shame.
Could you explain like how your discharge happened, or like what happened?
I don't remember too much about it. I remember that a couple of guys came in and they said, we want you to have a lie detector test. And I looked at them and I says, what for? And she says, just come with us, or you have an appointment at this time. So everything had changed, and so I went to this place, and they put me on a lie detector test, and they asked me if I was a homosexual, and I said no, and they asked questions like, have you ever been with anybody? And I said, no. And they said, it's really, really hard for me. I'm still going to therapy for that now, and it's a big blackout for me. And the next thing I know, I was in the hospital, and I don't remember that. And the next thing I know, I'm on a plane going to Hawaii. I don't remember that. But I remember being in Hawaii and seeing a friend. I don't remember getting back on the plane to go to San Francisco. I don't remember getting off the plane. It's all like a big blackout to me. And I'm still working on that.
Can you tell us anything about what happened, like, once you got back to the United States?
Then I was a civilian, and I didn't talk about it. I wouldn't talk about it to anybody. And I was very, very ashamed. I thought I wasn't a good person. I would have stayed in the Army. I would have made a career out of it. And I was very ashamed, and I just wouldn't tell anybody about it. And when I came down here, it was a little bit different, and I started talking about being in the Army and getting out. And then I got a good therapist, and so I filled out papers to get my discharge changed. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I waited about 3 years because all the paperwork had to be done, and I went through two guys that were down at the Council on Aging for Veteran Services, and then I met the woman. I was going down to check up on my stuff, and I met this woman, and everybody called me Swanee in the Army, and I still use that today. And they called her Swanee in the Army, and her real name is Shawnee, but she is a crackerjack. And within 6 months, I had my honorable discharge, and now I have 50% disability from veterans, so I get a little benefit there. In fact, maybe I shouldn't say this, I'm getting more from them now than when I was in the service.
Can you describe what it was like to get the letter that said your discharge had been reversed or changed?
I didn't open it for about 3 days, and then I opened it, and it was like, oh my God, I'm human again. You know, such a tension and feeling was lifted from me, and I don't have to. I'm not bad anymore. I'm honorable now, and that was a big thing for me, and it's getting better and better on a daily basis.
It said in your article that Leela, your dog, was she a part of your therapy?
Yes, yes. There was a lot that happened to me, and I developed PTSD, and she's my lifesaver.
So after that, do you still have any resentment toward the military, or if you ever did?
I don't know whether I had these. I hated it. I hated it. That's what it was. I just hated it because of what they did to me, and because I really loved the service, I probably would have stayed in, and my life was absolutely devastated, and I never I got some good jobs, but when I was getting really good and really up in those jobs, I'd quit or I'd do something wrong so I'd get fired because I didn't think I deserved it. Stop it.
when you found out that the war had ended, how did that feel? Like, what did you think?
Oh, that was awesome. All the boys were coming home, and they say they got most of the guys that came back from there, but there's still guys missing, and there always will be. And stop it. And it's really sad that the war has done that. And another thing that's sad about that is wherever they went, there's still bombs on the ground, and IEDs they call them now, and they just devastated everybody, not only the military, but even today, one will explode if somebody steps on it. And I watch a lot of different stuff on television now than I used to, and there's this guy that was in the Vietnam War, and he was a Vietnam person, and he planted thousands of mines, and and now for the rest of his life he's clearing the mines. He's cleared thousands and thousands of them, and it's just unbelievable. He's trying to repay a debt that never should have happened in the first place.
So that's not a requirement. That's his choice to go in and.
Yes, it's
That's
his
great.
choice.
If I was going to enlist in the army, what advice would you give?
Stand tall and be proud. It's so much different now than it was then, and you have a lot more benefits now than you do then. You have a chance to go to college and take classes and be everything you want to be.
And that's while in the service, or
Huh?
that you're saying you have a chance to go to college. Is that while you're serving?
While you're in the service, yeah.
Wow.
If you want to go to college, you can go to college in the service. I don't know everything about it, but I think it has to be, if you're doing something in the service and you want to go higher, then you can go to college and get more degrees on what you were trained for.
Oh, that's so cool. What, if anything, have you learned from your time in the service?
Oh, life is not always happy and joyful. Sometimes it throws you a left-hand turn, and but you know what? If I had it to do all over again, I would do it all over again. If I could go in the service today, I'd go back in the service today.
Wow. That's so is there anything or what is it, if anything, that in your current life or environment that brings memories back from being in the service?
I have nightmares every once in a while, and they can be very traumatic, and that's why I have her now. And but other than that, I don't remember a lot. I can remember some of the good times, like I played basketball and stuff like that, and I had good friends, and I loved it until I got torn apart.
Are you still friends with anybody you were friends with while you were in the army?
No, I haven't seen anybody. Oh, I take that back. A girl I went to basic training with, I found her about 10 years ago. Stop it. And I connected with her, and she's down. I don't talk to her anymore because she has MS, and I don't think she can use the computer or anything anymore.
What's MS?
multiple sclerosis.
Oh. Oh. If you could go back in time and change one thing you did while you were in the service, what would it be? If anything.
Not get kicked out.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could go back in and know what I know now, it would really be different. That's the big thing. That destroyed my life. It really destroyed my life, and I would not go through that again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What skills that you learned in the military, do you use any of them still today?
Do I use any of them today? Well, I used to skydive in the military too. That was a hobby.
You skydived?
Yeah.
As a hobby? That's...
And I like that. I would, if I could, I'd probably do it again. What was the question again?
Are there any skills that you learned in the military that you still use?
Well, I already knew how to shoot when I went in, but I learned a little more. I went through the gas chamber basic training, and they make you take off your masks and take a breath so you know what it feels like. And then you go out coughing and crying, and it was tear gas. And stop it. And you learn a lot of different stuff. Like I learned how to read maps really, really good. And I'll read maps to this day.
Yeah.
And of course I was teletype, so I knew how to teletype, and that was helpful with computers because it's similar, only older, and how to stand tall, but I couldn't stand tall for a long time until I got the discharge changed. Now I can stand tall and be proud again.
How do you, so like now, how do you spend your free time, or what do you like to do?
I love to fish. I like to walk with her and train her, and I used to watch a lot of television. I still watch a lot, but I watch now things like the Science Channel, and Exposition Unknown, and What on Earth, and I can relate to a lot of the stuff that's on there, and I learn a lot of stuff. I still like to learn, and it's I learned to take it only a day at a time, to live just for today, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and yesterday's gone.
Thank you very much. I think that will conclude the interview.
Okay, well, thank you. It's been
Thank you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.